We're down on the Brisbane River in the city of Brisbane, and we're talking about the Book of Esther. Now here's a book that was written 460 years before Jesus, and it's about a Jewish girl who finds herself in the palace of the great King Xerxes. It's a wonderful romance story with plenty of intrigue and twists and turns. Esther is the Jewish girl raised by a wise uncle Mordecai. The king had a vast empire ranging from India right up to Egypt, but he wanted more and was interested in being in control of Greece as well. So he called a conference for 180 days to discuss with his generals how this could be achieved. At the end of the conference, the king wants to show off his wife, Queen Vashti. But Vashti says no, and that was a big mistake. Vashti is banned and a new queen is sought via a beauty contest, which beautiful Esther wins hands down. But there is a villain in the camp, and his name is Haman, who is also an Agagite, and they hated the Jews ever since Agag was killed by Samuel at Gilgal, when Saul failed to do so. Now Haman and King Xerxes were very close, and a decree was made that all the people of the kingdom should worship King Xerxes, but Mordecai, being a Jew, refused to bow down. So an order was given to wipe out all the Jews in the kingdom on a certain day, with the executioners taking all their property. Now that certain day was chosen through a lottery. Now that lottery is called a pur in the Hebrew language, pur something. So the Jews now celebrate Purim to remember the day that they were saved by Esther. Now we're going to read a little bit from the word, and Pauline is going to do that.
This is Esther chapter 4. When Mordecai learned about all that had been done, he tore his clothes, put on burlap and ash, and he went out into the city crying with a loud, bitter wail. He went as far as the gate of the palace, for one was allowed to enter the palace gate when wearing ashes of mourning. And as the news of the king's decree reached all the provinces, there was great mourning among the Jews. They fasted, wept, and wailed, and many people lay in burlap and ashes. When Queen Esther's maids and eunuchs came and told her about Mordecai, she was deeply distressed. She sent clothing to him to replace the burlap, but he refused it. Then Esther sent for Hathak, one of the king's eunuchs, who had been appointed as her attendant. She ordered him to go to Mordecai and find out what was troubling him and why he was mourning. So Hathak went out to Mordecai in the square in front of the palace gate. Mordecai told him the whole story, including the exact amount of money Haman had promised to pay into the royal treasury for the destruction of the Jews. Mordecai gave Hathak a copy of the decree issued in Susa that called for the death of all Jews. He asked Hathak to show it to Esther and explain the situation to her. He also asked Hathak to direct her to go to the king to beg for mercy and plead for her people. So Hathak returned to Esther with Mordecai's message. Then Esther told Hathak to go back and relay the message to Mordecai. All the king's officials and even the people in the provinces know that anyone who appears before the king in his outer court without being invited is doomed to die, unless the king holds out his golden scepter. And the king has not called for me to come to him for 30 days. So Hathak gave Esther's message to Mordecai. Mordecai sent this reply to Esther. Don't think for a moment that because you're in the palace, you will escape when all other Jews are killed. If you keep quiet at a time like this, deliverance and relief for the Jews will arise from some other place, but you and your relatives will die. Who knows if perhaps you were made queen for just such a time as this. Then Esther sent this reply to Mordecai: Go and gather together all the Jews of Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will do the same. And then, though it is against the law, I will go in to see the king. If I must die, I must die. So Mordecai went away and did everything as Esther had ordered him.
On the third day, Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the palace, in front of the king's hall. The king was sitting on his royal throne in the hall, facing the entrance. When he saw Queen Esther standing in the court, he was pleased with her, and he held out to her the gold scepter that was in his hand. So Esther approached and touched the tip of the scepter. Then the king asked her, "What is it, Queen Esther? What is your request? Even up to half of the kingdom, it will be given to you." So you're going to need to read this book yourself to get the full picture on how it unfolded. It's a wonderful, intriguing story. But God is in the outcome. His name does not appear in the book, but he is in the story, in how his holy chosen people are saved from a certain Holocaust. The villain is hung on the gallows he had built for Mordecai, and Esther was definitely born for just such a time as this. What were you born for? God has a plan for us all, to prosper us and not to harm us. Are you willing to stand up for what is right, even if it may cost you your life? Now, if you're interested in doing the next book in the Bible, we're going to be studying Job. So click on the button on the screen and you'll be taken to the next story in the book of Job. So meanwhile, from the Brisbane River down here in Brisbane, we wish you have a pleasant day and God bless you. See you later.